Hi, Tower Defense Simulator actually has a very active speedrun community. The speedrun.com page has over 2,500 runs, and there are multiple active, highly skilled runners. So naturally, I decided to see if I could get a world record. There were a total of 42 maps to choose from, but in the end I settled on Harbor. It's one of the most iconic maps in the game, and fairly popular for speedrunning. At one point being the main map to do hidden wave on. There are also 3 categories for runs, being normal, molten, and fallen mode. I decided on normal mode, because it was the quickest and I assumed the easiest. It was not easy. When looking at the time I had to beat, I saw the first warning signs. The time was 9 minutes and 9 seconds, a ridiculously fast speed. Additionally, the time was held by the user Galaxitic, who held 77 other TDS records. I knew this would not be easy. So, the first step I took was to watch the world record run, and take notes to figure out a plan. So I watched through the whole video, writing down a few important notes. Gladiator, and I decided to go straight in. I joined a private server, equipped the towers, and went to the map. For the first couple of runs, it was mostly warming up and testing placement times. I actually deviated from the strategy on these first 2 runs, trying both Gold Mini and Engineer in place of the world record accelerator. Since this run was posted before the rate of fire bug was fixed, and before Engineer was added, I thought maybe using one of these towers might enable me to get the record easily. Unfortunately, that was not the case, and I finished these first 2 runs with times of 10:03 and 10:08 respectively. Being less than a minute off a world record might sound good, but that still meant I had a huge amount of time to shave. So I decided to take things more seriously. I got the accelerator and rewrote my notes into a more comprehensive guide. So I got into my first real attempt and lost the game. This brings us to the first major hurdle of this challenge. The problem is, I'm a low level player. I'm currently around level 160, which means my base has a little over 160 health. Now the world record run has a base health of 200. It doesn't seem like a major difference, but in the run it causes some huge problems. The strategy early game is to farm and place a few gladiators to kill most of the weak mobs. It gets you lots of money early, but also forces you to tank some damage. With 200 health, you can place a few extra gladiators in the back and barely survive. But with my health, that didn't work. I had to place a level 3 gladiator, which takes a lot more money, which completely disrupted the flow of the strategy. But after several failed runs and a lot of trial and error, I sort of adapted to this, and I learned the right time to place the gladiator was around wave 12, although I still kind of threw the run off. So with that problem solved, the run continues on smoothly for a bit. However, wave 16 is where things become very punishing. The slow boss spawns, an enemy with 1600 health. This is where a lack of precision really hurts. If you have not played perfectly up until this point, you will not kill the boss. Even on the world record run, the boss barely dies within range of the gladiator. In my 17 runs, I don't think I got this once. For me, in the best cases, the boss barely gets through with a small amount of health, and it's a time loss of only around 5 seconds since you can skip the wave. However, if the boss gets through with say 300 health, the run is as good as over, so gladiator in the back can't do enough damage. This really highlights the difference between an average player like me and a genuine TDS speedrunner. I cannot tell you how tight the margins in this run are, for literally everything. If you miss one placement or are late with one upgrade, especially in the early game, you might as well just start over. However, I did get a few runs where I managed to get the slow boss low enough for it to die. So after the slow boss, the next 4 waves are very straightforward. You place DJ, some more gladiators, and a commander. However, on wave 21, the final challenger arrives, a speedy boss. It has 1800 health and it moves very fast. This is the last hard check of the run. If you haven't upgraded your gladiators as optimally as possible, don't use the abilities at the exact right time. The boss will get through and you will lose. This boss killed the best run I had, barely getting by and killing me on wave 22. Yes, that was my best run. In 17 runs, I was unable to reach the final wave, either because of messing up farm upgrades early or dying to one of the 3 aforementioned zombies. So I knew I needed to change something. So I decided to go back to using Gold Mini instead of Excel. I figured it had worked for the first run I did, so maybe in conjunction with the strategy I'd learned, I could get a solid time. And I actually did. I ended up going slightly off script, getting an early minigunner, which enabled me to handle all 3 of the bosses much more easily. However, it was also a lot slower. Still, it was my best run yet, and managed to reach the final wave at a fairly good pace. In the end, getting a time of 9 minutes and 55 seconds, my first sub 10. However, this was the problem. This was my best run yet, and I was still a good 45 seconds behind. I thought I might be able to cut off 10, maybe even 20 seconds, but there was no way I could take the world record. I am physically not good enough. However, I had one more trick up my sleeve. You see, in addition to difficulty, there there's another way TDS speedruns are sorted, with or without event towers. With is by far the more popular category and the one I was running against. But when looking at the without event towers leaderboards, there's only one run with a rather average time of 12 minutes. So I replaced the Gladiator with Gold Scout and went to Harbor one more time. With a modified version of the strategy, I was able to beat the game pretty easily, and in the end, I won with a time of 11 minutes and 16 seconds, getting the normal mode Harbor world record. I am now an official TDS world record holder, only because of a loophole, but still, please subscribe.